On today's episode of My First Deal, we have Giovanni Fernandez. Gio and I have been friends for a little bit, and I have seen him go from a total beginner, newbie wholesaler to running his own very successful acquisitions team. His tenacity and friendly demeanor has made him a top closer at Trusted Investors, a SoCal investing group who now works nationwide. He dropped some bombs about mindset, consistency, and what it took to get his first deal. Send this video to a friend who might be struggling and tell them to keep going. That first deal can seem a million miles away when in actuality it's probably right around the corner. But first, please subscribe to the channel. Lauren and I made this channel to document our journey from total beginner to financially free, hopefully inspiring you to get started today. Gio is doing deals all over SoCal and now nationwide. If you need a closer, DM Gio and get the help from him. Now, let's go. All right, what's up, you guys? We are back for another episode of My First Deal. Today we have Giovanni Fernandez. What's up, Gio? How are you living?
What's up? Living good, living good. Just been raining all weekend, trying to stay dry, but living good other than that, right? Gotta be thankful for the rain too sometimes, I guess.
That's it. Yeah, we're not used to it here in Cali, so when it comes for more than 2 days, we're like, what's going on? It's freezing.
Exactly.
Awesome.
It actually snowed.
I know, yeah. Yeah, that was trippy, dude. That was super trippy to see. I went down to visit my mother-in-law, and she lives in a little bit more inland, Rancho Santa Margarita, and we were coming down as like snow-covered mountains, looked like coming down super low. It was crazy, but it was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I appreciate you joining me on a Sunday. I know as investors, we already don't take any time off, so you giving me a little bit of time today, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So let's jump right into it. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers and kind of let people know how you got into real estate investing. Paint us a picture of what your life was like before and then what kind of led you down that road.
Okay, so my life before, I had a full-on fledged career in occupational therapy. Back of my mind, though, subconsciously, consciously as well, always like had a thing for real estate, always saw it, but never really kind of thought like, I guess only some people can get into that. How do you even really get into that, right? But it was in the back of my mind. But anyways, had a full career in occupational therapy. And then I was doing that for a while, and I was like, man, I want to like do something more, right? Like I went to school for it. I was making decent money when it comes to like the national average, right? And then I was just, scrolling through social media, and I came across Carlos. Carlos, you know Carlos very well. And I just thought, you know what? Let me just reach out, see what's up, because he was local. Reached out, met, and he told me, hey, yeah, you want to learn? I'm willing to help. I passed out flyers. Straight passed out flyers for he gave me a stack of flyers. I passed out a bunch of flyers after work, after being at work all day, and I would go pass them out. And then gave me a list of just straight cold calls. And so I cold called one by one, by the way, no dialer, just one by one. And after a while, I was getting a little bit better, right? Like I realized I've always been good at kind of just talking, right? Just talking to people, going random, just talking. I was getting better on the phone, and he gave me put me on a dialer. And, that was so much easier than going one by one. Right? I was like, I can sit here and do this all day. So I would actually, after work, I would either go home, go for 2 hours on a dialer, or I would go sit in a Starbucks parking lot. I would sit in a McDonald's parking lot, jump on my computer, use their Wi-Fi, and get on some calls, right? I got my first deal actually in the parking lot of I think it was like Pollo Loco or something like that, right? And like he was like, yeah, I'm interested in selling, and I was like, oh, okay, kind of got into it, but yeah, that's how I got started, right? Paying my dues and just going now with it now.
That's great. Yeah, and I think it's always it's one of those things I think we see because we if unless you grew up with real estate around you, you have no idea. Like it kind of seems like this thing, like you said, that's like, I know there's money to be made there. I know it makes this like generational wealth, financial freedom. But how do I get started? And that's what's kind of the crazy thing about social media nowadays is like you can see it scrolling. I mean, now I'm sure like your feed's like mine. It's like so much real estate stuff,
Yeah.
but just to take the action of reaching out to somebody that that could be a mentor or somebody that could kind of show you the ropes is one thing, but then to also take the action and be coachable, have that beginner's mindset of like, okay, I'm learning something new, so I'm going to take their advice and then I'm going to actually take action on it. Have you always been like that, or is that something that you had to learn?
As far as taking action, I feel like I've always been. I had to learn. I had to learn it to a degree, right? I've always been the type of person that needed a next goal. Next, what's next, right? When I went to school for what I went, for occupational therapy, that was the goal at that time, and I don't regret like getting a career in that, because that made me feel like what's next after that, which led me to real estate, and then taking action is more about just like, I guess, I figured when I took action, I figured like, what do I got to lose? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it part time too, right? So I was like, and I had my job or my career, and I guess I had to learn it, but it is in me. Like I have to like feel like I'm going towards something.
Love it. Yeah. And if you're gonna go towards something, let's go towards something where we can make life changing money. That's kind of like that's definitely, I think, a step in the right direction. Now let's go ahead and break down that first deal. So you're calling, you're doing these cold calls, you're in the parking lot, you're getting told no, not interested. I'm
Uh-huh.
sure if people are just starting out, they don't realize, or maybe they do realize, most of these people are going to say, I'm getting calls left and right. Like, okay, I want, over asking it, it's not a deal. I'm not interested, F off, what have you. And finally someone says, yeah, I'm thinking about selling. And it's kind of a pattern interrupter. You're like, oh crap. You almost like don't know what to do. You're
Yeah.
almost, scared to get that yes at first. But so take us through after you got that yes, I'm interested in selling. What are your next steps?
So my next steps was actually it was in actually the border of Carson, Long Beach area, right? So my next step was all I had at the time was Zillow and Redfin, like like a lot of people just starting out, and I just did some rough comps, kind of like learned how to comp on YouTube University, as Carlos, as Ryan, and then I was like, oh, this looks like it could be a deal. Like the guy was in a situation that he needed help, right? He needed help with it. So I guess my next step was actually learning how to run the numbers and making sure it was a deal rather than just getting too excited and kind of, I guess, jumping the gun. And when I figured out it was a deal, send him out the, kind of closed it, be like, hey, you ready to move forward at this price, so and so, so and so. And he was like, yeah, definitely. So has a contract drawn out, sends out to him. And there's a few hurdles here and there, but yeah, that's how it
Okay.
went.
A few hurdles, maybe break down that, because yeah, you got your first contract, let's go, money in the bag, but not no money in the bank, but not yet, because there's always going to be a little something. The title company comes back and says, uh-oh, he's got something on the title. I don't know what the hurdles were, but can you break down some of those?
Definitely, yeah. So that's one of the things I've learned now, right? Getting a contract signed is, I don't even really get excited for getting them signed anymore, because it's getting into the closing table and being, once it's a done deal. So everything was good, and all of a sudden Teddy goes, "Hey, who is forgot her name? Who is so and so?" And it was an ex-wife, right? And it was the ex-wife, and we had to somehow get a hold of her, and what it turned out happening is that he wasn't allowed to try to sell the property after X amount of years after their divorce and whatnot, but he was trying to kind of backdoor it and just sell it, and this. So we had so the hurdle title was that, like getting a hold of her and making sure he had all the proper paperwork, and now negotiating with her,
Oh
right?
my
So
gosh. And I mean, obviously, divorce, she's not going to want to help him out at all. We already made a deal. He had to wait 5 years. How did
exactly.
that go? What did that look like?
So it looked like I guess she had to be okay with the deal as well, right? So we were negotiating what what price it was going to be at. So the price turned out to be fine, but now she wanted her cut, right? She wanted her cut, and that all turned out to be he had to be fine with it now because now she was threatening legal action. So he was like, we agreed on the price. She probably took most of it, I think.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
So she got her cut. He got probably a little sliver, and he had to deal with the repercussions of like trying to do it behind her back, because I'm sure he got a lot of flack from her.
Yep. And she's like, this is the reason why I left you. You're doing the same stuff.
Exactly.
Trying to go
Yeah.
behind my back, take his money. Oh my God. Okay, so you're going on a roller coaster. You're getting now the wife's she's fine with it, and then he's like, well, hold on, we might need to renegotiate. They were fine with the price the whole time, or did that ever come into question because now he had to give up some of the pie, and he's like, well, can you give me a little bit more?
Surprisingly, he never came back with wanting to. I think he was more scared of her threatening legal action at that point, to where he was he knew he was being shady. He was trying to be real super, and it was his new girlfriend, I think, who was talking him into selling it. So it was,
God, that's crazy.
yeah. So he got caught. So I guess he was like,
okay, this is
as
my
long
bad.
as you don't, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So after all that, the wife's on board. It makes it to the closing table, and then you assign that to your partners now, Carlos and Ryan.
Exactly. Yeah. So assign it to them, and then they, obviously, I signed it to them. They took it on. They flipped it, and sold it.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Great. So you get that first assignment check. After learning about what wholesaling is, what do you think the time frame was from when you first texted Carlos to learn about real estate to getting that first assignment?
So by the way, I have that first check framed. I think a lot of people
do. Yeah, let's go.
Time frame. It took me about solid 4 months.
Okay.
I think it took like 4 months, and I've told people before, it's actually kind of fast.
Sure.
As far getting a deal, that's pretty fast. It takes a lot of people a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
And I think it was because, like you said, you have to be willing to hear no a lot, and I understood that. You have to be very coachable, and I understood that. This was going to take some time, right? But I was willing to wait the time, because I was hearing all these stories on the internet about like how it can change your life, learn this new skill. And that's what I had in the back of my mind the whole time, was like, all right, like, it's not happening now, but it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. I'm too damn persistent for it not to happen. I mean, that's one of the reasons that my wife either loves me and hates me, right? Because I'm too persistent, but she likes it, but then she also doesn't like it because I get on her nerves.
Right. Absolutely. But that's a good skill to have, because in this game, it's all about follow up. So you got to be persistent, man. You to the point of where it's like, and I say that too, I'm like, until you tell me to F off, and even then I might call you in a couple months, it's like, I'm not going to stop calling you to follow up,
Oh man. I've told now that we have callers, right, that I oversee and I coach them along, I tell them I'd rather lose a deal by calling too much than lose a deal by not calling enough.
Yeah.
Right? Because the next guy's going to call them, and I'll be like, I should have just bugged him. Right?
That's gold right there, man. That's freaking right there. If you have anybody making calls for you, you need to drill that into their head, because they'll just, you think it's almost like, oh, well, if I was getting that many calls, it might bother me. But it's like, no, you got to stay on these people, because they're not going to be the ones that like, hey, let me call up Matt and tell him I want to sell my house. You got to get him at the right time. And that could be a couple weeks later. It could be, the next day calling, seeing, hey, has anything changed? You said you were going to think about selling, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Okay. Now, as you're going through these 4 months, you're not getting a deal. What's keeping you motivated that whole time?
The possibility of just more, possibility of supplemental income. The hunt, actually, right? I grew up, I love sports. I grew up loving it's competitive. Like it's something that you're constantly getting better at even now. Like I still consider myself a beginner, to be honest with you, right? Even though I've been doing it, even though I oversee some people now, I still see myself as a beginner, and it's the hunt of the whole thing. It's fun going after these deals, right? And especially when you get one on the line, on the hook, you're like, you're just, you can feel it, and it's the small adrenaline rush that kept me going while I'm on the phone with these people. Because like they say, you're one phone call away from a yes. So,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. That's great. I love that, man. So what would you say was the number one hardest thing, going back to this first deal? What was the number one hardest thing about the whole process?
um, not the signing, like I said, the actual getting it through title and escrow. That was the hardest part because something seems to always come up in that period of time throughout the deal. There's only been one deal that I've gotten that was like that was like the unicorn of deals, right? Where it happened after like one or two calls.
Right.
I was like, that never happens, right? It's usually like 4 or 5 touches more than that
Yeah.
before you actually close them. But that was the hardest part, is getting it to the actual closing table. Getting somebody to sign,
Yeah.
it's really not the hard part. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes they'll just do it just to get you off their back or something. They're like, "Fine, I'll sign it," and then maybe they ghost you or something,
mhm.
or like you said, they didn't have the right to sell it in the first place. I just lost a deal I've been working on for like 2 months. We had it locked up 2 months ago, about to close the first, and then I get a call from not title, but there's a guy who had paid this lady's taxes in 2020, and he entered into a trust with her, and so he had the first right to buy it. It was another
Mm.
investor, and so he got like all the way to the end. It was going to be like a 30K spread. And then he calls me. He's like, "Hey, man, just to let you know, like I have the first right to buy this, so I'm gonna go and check it out. I probably don't even want it, but I just wanted to let you know." And of course, like, he wants it. So it was like 2 months of like me trying to like relocate this lady and her whole family. So I'm calling rentals for her and doing all this stuff. But yeah, it's just the
Yeah.
way it
Oh,
goes.
he only wanted it now because he saw somebody else wanted it,
Oh
right?
yeah, no, for sure. He was like,
That's
"Well, yeah." He was like, "I've been working this for 2 years." I was like, "Not really. You paid her taxes, and then
mhm.
like he entered into the contract." But he was there first, so I was just like, "All right,
Yeah,
there's nothing I can do at that point." So move on. There will be more deals. That's the funnest part because there's always going to be more deals.
exactly.
So now you've moved on. I mean, I know a little bit about your background, but now you've gone from just straight wholesaler to now you're, like you said, overseeing some people. You're the lead manager in a successful real estate company here in Southern California. I know you said you feel like a beginner, but now that you're overseeing people, what are some characteristics that you look for, in the acquisition side now that you're kind of taking charge of that?
Um, Persistence for sure, right? Since I have it, I look for that as well. I look for I look for charisma. Somebody who has some charisma, when they talk to people, and they don't take it too serious when they talk to people. They realize that it's just a phone call, right? They don't have anything to be scared about. The worst they can do is tell you no, and even a no is not even a no,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you said, if somebody tells you to f off, then kind of put them, on the back burner. You can still call them in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
Anything might change, but yeah, persistence, charisma, coachability. They need to be able to be coachable, and because every time we have a training, I say the same thing every time. We all learn at every stage of the game. It doesn't matter if you've been doing this 20 years. There's still so much still to learn. So don't take anything that's given to you as advice, as an attack or anything like that. It's just, we all want to get better. I want to get better. I still, uh, listen to people, watch a lot of people, and I want to learn a lot. So yeah, coachability, persistence, and some charisma. Probably the top 3 things for me. I would say top of the head.
I like that. Yeah. And I mean, are there people that want to do this job that you're just like, "Nah, I don't think it's for you." And then what would be their avenue? Would they just do something else in real estate?
Um, so as far as, it depends on which level of the process you want to be in. If you want to be a closer, it's different than you want to be just a cold caller, but different avenue. I guess there's always bird dogs, right? There's always bird dogs. You just go bring investors properties, bring them possible deals, and you don't have to talk to anybody. You just bring an investor a bunch of deals, and then you get paid on the back end, and let somebody do the talking for you. So I guess if you don't have the ability to quote unquote sell, right? I guess bird dog's a great way to get in it, and maybe at some point, you build up the courage and build up the skills that you can take the next, leap into the real estate game.
Okay. And so this is something that you would say that can be taught to you. And even if you don't have the skill, you could work on it and eventually improve and get to that point.
Well, I'm of the mindset that I think anything can be taught. Some people are more natural with it. I believe sales sales can be taught. Yes, I mean to a point. Maybe might not be the best closer, but they can get a deal or two here or there. I can.
Okay, nice. And so would you suggest that maybe they team up with somebody that has the strengths that they're like lacking in, and then maybe they have a strength that the other person's lacking in?
100%, 100%. Yeah, yeah. I think teaming up with people in general is a great idea. Nobody makes it to the top alone, right?
Yeah, love that. Okay. Um, and that's one thing I love about the real estate community. I mean, it's like full of people willing to help other people out, especially if you're brand new. There's a ton of people that will just give you advice that are doing like some high level stuff, and they'll just
Hmm.
tell you exactly what to do. I mean, even the guys that you're working with, like Ryan, Carlos, like I'll just call them up sometimes and ask them what to do, and then they tell me, and then I do it, and then it works. So it's like all the answers are right there. You don't have to like reinvent
Yeah,
the wheel
yeah.
here.
Um, I've been actually, meaning to come in and like pick your brain on the whole sub two creative purchasing of the properties. I
Oh
know you
yeah,
have a pitch on that. That's a different pitch, that I have to get comfortable with as well. So yeah, it's all
absolutely.
about picking brains wherever you can pick a brain, right?
Yeah,
Say these real estate meetups. There's a lot of people in real estate who do want to help, which is it's great.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing. So now, what advice would you give to someone who hasn't taken any action yet? They're consuming the content. They're like you were. They're scrolling through Instagram. Except this time, they don't reach out to Carlos. They just keep scrolling. They're watching the YouTube. They want to do it so bad. What advice would you give to them?
Honestly, it's the same cliche advice that everybody gives, right? Stop being scared. You're just holding yourself back. Stop listening to all these YouTube videos. Yeah, they're great, but if you don't ever do anything about it, then it's entertainment at that point. Just go and take the step and try. Nothing to lose.
Absolutely. And would you? What do you think would be the first step? Like, should they watch a YouTube video and then try to take action from that, or should they actually reach out to somebody and see if they can, get on a team, or what would you suggest?
Um, I would reach out to somebody, but I think the easiest thing to do that a lot of people might be afraid of though as well is like your own little neighborhood, right? Go knock on some doors. Go knock on some doors and ask if they'd be willing to sell their property, or maybe go neighborhood over and do that. But yeah, reach out to somebody, ask genuine questions. But again, at some point, you need to stop asking questions and just do.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Okay, so tell me now about like kind of your future. You said you feel like a beginner, so you're just getting started. Obviously, you've had some success, things are ramping up.
Mhm.
Tell me about your future plans in real estate.
Okay. So the thing about me feeling like a beginner, I feel like I'll always feel that way just because I want to keep that um, being humble about it. I
Hmm.
don't ever want to like I'm just too far in the game where I can't learn. But my plans for the future in real estate is continue wholesaling, of course. Build up, my flips about increase them year after year, and then get a few rentals, perhaps the Airbnb. I don't know about that. That seems like it might be a little stressful to do that Airbnb, but who knows? If I see that it's something that might not lead to too much stress, then I'll do it. But for sure, I know I want to keep wholesaling because that's just quick, and flipping, and then some rentals. That's my end game is
Nice.
to mean, like everybody else in the game, build enough, passive income to just take care of my basic needs.
There you go. Financial freedom, baby. Yeah, exactly. And in really, like I tell people, like the wholesaling, all you're doing is you're creating a lead generation source. So you're seeing the best leads. You're like, I don't want that one. Sell it to somebody else. Don't want that one.
Yeah,
Oh, here's a home run. All right, let's take this one down. Gonna add that to my portfolio. Cherry pick that. Flip this one. Wholesale that. It just
yeah,
becomes one exit strategy, and one tool in your tool belt. Same thing with the creative finance. It just allows you, it's another way to just purchase properties, and then you can even wholesale those, or,
yeah.
decide to keep those or whatever. So that's great. And now if someone's brand new and they want to learn how to, start their acquisition side, their lead generation side, how can they partner up with you?
So you can reach out to me at either on my Instagram, closed by Geo, or you can reach out to me on either my email, geo@trustedinvestors.com, and just message me quick. Hey, I want to learn if you want, and I will respond. Or genuinely, because it happened to me. Somebody responded to me. I wouldn't want somebody to ghost me when I was actually taking that leap of faith. Reach out to me on Instagram or my email.
Awesome. And then if they have a deal that maybe they're already getting leads coming in, but they're having trouble closing them, is that something that you could do as well?
Definitely, yeah, for sure, for sure. I've talked to Carlos Ryan about it. Anybody who has leads that they're having a difficult time closing, I would love to help out, and then eventually, teach them how to close them themselves.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Let's touch on that for a minute. Now, do you have any sort of sales system? I mean, there's a million out there. Wolf of Wall Street. Like, which style are you? Like, what do you do? Like, do you have a system, or is it just kind of like conversational?
Uh, Little of both. So it's funny you say Wolf of Wall Street because I do follow his style, right? The straight line system. I'm a big proponent of like, yes, you talk about the property, but then you go off course a little bit. And what I tell the callers all the time, I'm like, hey, if you hear a dog in the background, ask about the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Ask about the dog, ask about the cat, ask about the kids, but then come back to the property. What you're trying to do is, kind of lower their defenses, right? And everybody likes to talk about their dogs and whatnot. And then so you go on talk, I don't know, a few like a minute or two maybe about the dog, and then come back to the property. And now they're less confrontational. They've let down their guard, and they're like, okay, this person doesn't want to just lowball me, and they actually are trying to get just talk to me. So I'm more of a conversationalist. I'm not so just rapid fire questions. I'll go off and let them talk, and just eventually they give me the information I want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've heard your style. It's like you're talking to a friend, and people work with people that they know, like, and trust. And so I
Hmm.
think you definitely already have that sort of tonality, those mannerisms that can kind of just be like, even right off the bat, which when you're first making that call and you're like, hey, what's up, man? Like, or however you do it, like I try to do it to where I'm a friend and I'll be like,
Yeah,
hey, what's up? It's Alex. And they're like, hey, what's up, Alex? And then like then I'll go into, I just, hey, just following up about your, and then they're like kind of like mad that I'm not a friend. But I really notice that you have that tonality, because each 5 seconds, I don't know what the thing is, but it's like that each 5 seconds gets you another 5 seconds or 15 seconds or something. So
yeah, yeah.
so I think I've definitely seen that your style is kind of like, you're there to help them. You're friendly, and I mean, does that just come natural to you?
Yeah, yeah. Especially like what I used to do for a living. I had to convince people to do therapy, so I was convincing there as well. So you have to kind of be some approach them that you're there to help, and you're not there to just do business, right? Which I am there to do business, but at the end of the day, I am there to help. Some of these people are in like bad situations, and we provide a service to get possibly get them out of that situation. And again, I don't like when it comes to anything like just in life. I don't like stuffy rooms. Right? I don't like where people are just so serious and kind of just make things uncomfortable. And I'm the same on the phone where it's like I'm just calling to help. If I can help, perfect. I called you at the right time, right moment in your life. And if I can't help, I wish you the best. Thank you for your time.
Excellent. Yeah, keep it simple. I think a lot of people can overthink it and try to use all these systems and scripts and stuff, but I think you're right. Just go in there trying to solve a problem. How do you, I mean, people call it a low ball offer, but it's actually the as is condition price.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a low ball offer, but you're never gonna, convince somebody of that. How are you giving, once you know the price, you've comped it out, and then you're giving them a call. Do you just drop the number, or do you try to get them to give them their price first, or what? How do you approach that pricing?
I always try to get them to give their price first, even if I have my offer already in front of me on the computer screen. I want them to say a number first. Whatever, if they give me some, I'd rather them give me some crazy $5 million valuation where I can take them off my list for that moment, or whatever. But I always ask for a number first. I never, it's the cardinal rule of sales, right? The person who gives the number first is the person that loses in the negotiation. So I don't give my number first. I just
How do you get
I
around
don't.
those people that will not give up the number? They don't. I want to hear your offer. I'm not. I want to hear your offer. I don't know what it's worth. I want to hear your offer first.
So a line I just started using, which I thought was great, was I said, okay, well then let me ask you, when you bought the house you're in now, was there an asking price for it? And they'll say, well, of course there was an asking price. Okay, well then, if I'm trying to buy your house right now as well, I would, all I'm asking for is the same courtesy. Just can I get an asking price, just so I know what ballpark you're in, to see if I can help or not. And I just
Wow. Nice. I like that. That's good. Okay. I'm gonna be jacking that one for sure. Do we have
because it's
permission to
true,
use that?
right? It's true. A lot of these
I
people are
know.
like, "You give me your number. You're in the business," and I'm like, well, when you bought the house, you didn't walk up to the house and somebody told you give me the number. You were like, oh, you saw the asking price on a piece of paper wherever you saw it, so you had an idea if you could afford it or not.
Exactly. Wow, that's a good one. And then it takes them back to when they purchased the property, and woo, that's fire right there. That's
Mm-hmm.
nuggets, y'all. That's nuggets. Awesome, dude. Okay, well, as we're kind of nearing the end here, I'd like all of you guys to subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast for weekly motivation. Send this to anybody brand new, maybe somebody who hasn't got their first deal yet, so you can share with them Gio's story. So don't let them quit. Tell them to keep going, because sometimes hearing it from people who have done it can keep you going, can keep you motivated. And that first deal can seem like
Yeah.
a million miles away, but oftentimes
Yeah.
it's right around the corner. So, and then as soon as you're done with that, I want you to go over to Gio's socials. I'm going to be popping them down in the bottom of the screen. Show him some love, DM him, link up with him so you guys can do business later. And now go ahead and send us home, Gio. Give us one piece of advice that you would give
Mm-hmm.
yourself before you got that first deal under your belt.
Oh man, that's a good question. Um, Dang. I mean, I feel like, so before I got my first deal, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to take so long. So I guess I would just give myself the advice I kind of gave myself, right? It's gonna, just believe, right? Have faith. It's a numbers game. But I would tell myself exactly the same things I told myself, honestly, just to keep going. It's gonna happen. You are capable.
That's it. Wow, that's amazing. And I love that it's a numbers game, because it is. And you start realizing that. And it's like, you'll talk to some people that are like, hey, I called 10 people. I didn't get a deal. You're like, dude, you need to be calling like 1,000 people before you even come back to me.
10
So,
people.
yeah. So it is
I
a
was
numbers
calling
game.
like
Yeah.
I was calling like 200-300 a
Mhm.
day, like on the dollar.
That's it,
And
dude. You're putting up numbers. That's it. And that's how you did that, and that's why people are like, wow, you did that in a short amount of time. It's like, maybe, okay, you did 200 to 300 people. Maybe someone's calling 1,000 people. Maybe they get it. Maybe they get it in 2.5 months. It's honestly, it's a
yeah,
numbers game. It will happen. You even if it's like a hard one, or you might get that lay down, that deal, but it's
yeah,
it's honestly a
yes,
numbers game. And so you start realizing from there, you start tracking all your KPIs, and now it's just all about scaling. So now let's start dialing, thousands and thousands of people, and put this
yeah.
baby on overdrive. So again, Gio, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. You dropped some fire today. And I will have people reach out to you, and then we're going to link up for sure. And, you know, me and you should do deals.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Yeah, I already been thinking about it. I was going to hit you up. Hey, throw one my way. I'll throw
Awesome,
one your way
dude.
as well.
Hell yeah. You got it. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, man. Talk soon.
You too. Appreciate it.
Later.